I want to show you how I make the meat pies that are tradition in our family. The recipe that I use is actually my mother-in-law's recipe, just tweaked a little bit with my own little flavor, my own little twist. So let me show you how I do this. The recipe that I follow is really simple. It just consists of your meat, onions, some of the juices left over from cooking your meat, some summer savory, which is a spice that I use in a few different recipes, and salt and pepper to taste. It's very simple. Now, I am a big believer in preparing some stuff in advance to make the assembly day a lot easier, a lot smoother. So last night, what I did is I prepared all the meat and I cooked it all separately. So I have about 6 pounds of turkey and pretty much the same equivalent of like a pork roast. And all I do, it's really simple. I just put those in a pot separately. I add some onions, a little bit of seasoning, salt, pepper, and I just boil them until I figure they're cooked. And I usually let it cook quite a bit, so it's basically falling apart. Maybe a couple of hours, just kind of simmering in a pot. And then I take all the meat off the bones, cut it all up, and then my meat is ready for the next day. Last night I also chopped my onions, and also one other thing that I do is when I save the juices for the that I'm going to make a gravy with, I like to put it in the fridge. So this allows for all the fat to come to the surface, and then I can scrape the fat off the top. Now, you know, it's all a question of personal taste. Some are like, oh, but when you remove the fat, you remove the flavor. If you prefer to leave that in there because you find it gives it a lot more flavor to your meat pies, go for it. I personally prefer to remove it. The first thing we need to do is we need to make a gravy to be able to add to the meat. So what I do to make gravy, and it's another one of my things that maybe I'm not the best at to make gravy, is I just put a little bit of warm water in the jar, salt into the water, and add flour until I find that it's pretty thick. I don't measure anything, and I guess that's probably why I'm not very good at making gravy. So I keep adding flour to the mixture until I find that it's a good consistency to make a nice thick gravy. Now, gravy is one of those things where it's different for everybody. Some people like it really thick, some people like it really thin. So it's really a question of preference and how you prefer. When I pour it into the juices, I'll let you see how thick I make my gravy, my mixture, and then you can decide. I must have put a good 7-8 tablespoons of flour in maybe like a quarter of the mason jar to give you an idea. We're gonna add our juices to the pot. So this is the mixture of the pork broth and the turkey broth that I cooked. I just mix it all together and get this nice and hot before we start adding our flour. So while I'm waiting for the gravy to warm up, I'm going to start cooking down the onion and adding my meat to warm it up. And I like to add some vegetables. So I like to make a meat pie with a little bit of vegetables in it. And this is where I'm a little bit different from my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law never used to put vegetables in her meat pies. So I just add some frozen vegetables that it actually says on the package of frozen vegetables that it's great for a pot pie. So it's just a mixture of frozen vegetables. Feel free to add, to leave out, to whatever you prefer for your pies. So I'm just going to add a little bit of oil to my pot just to cook down the onion. So once your broth has come to a boil, you're going to add your flour and water mixture. You can also thicken your gravy with cornstarch if you prefer. So you can get an idea about how thick this is. So you're just going to add and whisk. And the more you add, the thicker it'll get. The less you add, the thinner it'll be. That is my gravy expert advice. You want to bring it to a boil to help thicken it, and add more as needed. Once you've got your gravy exactly where you want it, you're going to add that to your meat. And then we're going to start putting all of this together. So I've got my meat here just really low because there's no liquid in it. I don't want it to burn to the bottom, just kind of warming up. And so now I'm going to start pouring the gravy inside my meat. So like I say, this is really a question of personal preference on how thick or how liquid you want it, how much of a pot pie you want it, or if you want it more like a drier meat pie. So it seems like every time I make this, I always say, oh, I should have added just a little bit more liquid to it. So I'm gonna try to get it right this year. And one more thing, if I can tell you, is that it's really important that you taste what you're cooking. There's no way that you're gonna be able to make a very flavorful meat pie if you don't taste it. Because if you taste it and it's bland now, it's not gonna taste any better once it's all done. So make sure that you taste and you season appropriately. So I can tell by tasting that there's not enough savory, because I can barely taste it, and there's not enough salt. And there's not enough liquid for sure. I'm gonna taste this again, see how it's coming along. Better. A little bit more liquid. Some more savory. And some pepper. I'm going to add my pot pie mix to the meat. I don't add a whole lot. I don't want there to be a ton of vegetables in there, but I do like some. And there you go. You just add your liquids, add your vegetables if you want, your seasoning, until it tastes exactly the way you want it. It's as simple as that. All right, so now that the meat is exactly how we want it, the meat mixture with the sauce, I'm going to roll out the pie crust. I'm not gonna lie, I really probably shouldn't be showing you how bad I am at this, but we're gonna give it a whirl and I'll show you how I do this. Once you have your pie crust rolled out, you're going to take your pie plate, your pie crust, slide the plate, just kind of tuck it in so there's no gaps in the bottom. There you go. Perfect. And then all you need to do is to scoop your mixture inside your pie plate. Some like a really thick meat pie, some like them thinner. So this is, again, your personal preference. Fill your pie plate. Roll out your top crust. I can take no credit for my crust rolling skills. This crust works so well. So add your second crust centered on top. You want to remove the excess crust that you have on around your plate. Just kind of make some, so anyway, so everybody has their own way to do fluting. I just kind of pinch the sides all around. You want to make sure you have a good seal just so it doesn't go over. If you want to make a nice shiny pie, you can brush it with egg wash on top as well. So I just kind of flatten out and there you go. Not prize winning, but it's going to be good. Continue to make your way through your pie crusts and your meat until you get everything in your crusts. Time to pop these in the oven. I've got 3 here done. I'm gonna end up with 6 pies, 385. You only wanna leave these in the oven long enough to get the crust a nice golden brown, especially if you plan on freezing them. If you leave them too long in the oven and cook them too much in advance, once you thaw them and put them back in the oven, you'll have an overdone crust. So you just want to leave them there until they're golden brown if you do plan on freezing them. So now let's just wait till we get that done. I'll tell you how long that'll take me for my oven. Make sure you keep an eye on them with your oven. Round 1 is done. 20 minutes seems to be like the magic number for me at 385 to get them to a little bit of a golden brown. So I'm going to take them out of the oven, put the 3 other pies in. I ain't gonna lie, I think we're gonna be eating one tonight. So I want you to take a good look at my meat pies. These are definitely nothing that you would put on the cover of a magazine or on the cover of a book or even feature in a magazine. But you know what? As much as they're not the prettiest pies, or they probably wouldn't win any awards anywhere, but during the holidays when you're tired and you're exhausted and you've just cooked about as much turkey and ham as you can, and you pop one of these out of the freezer and put it in the oven, you can sit, kick your feet up, relax a little bit, they're worth $1 million. So I do hope that you've enjoyed this content. I hope you enjoyed my video. If you do, give it a big thumbs up, and be sure to check back again soon to see what other content I will have coming out.